And our job is to try and change the criminal justice system to improve outcomes of the criminal justice system.
Michael Santos and Sean Hopwood recently visited MTC's Kyle, Lockhart, and Sanders Estes facilities in Texas. President Scott Marquardt, Senior Vice President Bernie Warner, and Vice President Michael Bell led the tours.
I feel very privileged to be able to come back into prison and talk to guys like you about things you can do today to make your life better when you get out of here.
Michael is a successful business owner and entrepreneur. Sean is a law professor and attorney. Their advice to these incarcerated men and women: learn something new every day and prepare yourself for success. And start today.
Anybody know when the best time to plant an oak tree? Anybody know an oak tree? When's the best time of year to plant that oak tree? Nobody knows? Spring, winter, summer, fall? It's 20 years ago. That's the best time to plant an oak tree, 20 years ago. When's the second best time? It's today. It's today.
Because I think some people do get hopeless on the inside. So I think that that's great. I think it's awesome what they're doing.
Michael and Sean travel around the country speaking to incarcerated men and women. Why did they do it?
To help people see themselves not of where they are, but what they can potentially become.
And that's something Michael and Sean know all too well. You see, they had to overcome incredible challenges after being convicted of serious crimes.
When I went to prison, the only thing I wanted was to get out of jail. I'd never been locked up before. I was 23. I was facing life without parole.
Michael was in prison for 26 years for drug crimes.
I did 11 years and got out and had a lot of anxiety, and it was 2008, 2009, height of the recession. No one was finding work, let alone the former bank robber. But I had done the work in prison. And so when I got out, I ran into some hurdles, but there weren't anything I couldn't overcome.
Sean robbed 5 banks, so they know what these men and women struggle with. And they came with a powerful message that change is possible if they're willing to work hard.
You're going to face resistance in the job market. You're going to face resistance when you go to get credit. You're going to face resistance when, people are looking at you, you've been in felony. Never give up.
Michael's accomplishments in prison are unbelievable. He earned a bachelor's and master's degrees, wrote several books, got married, and made business connections on the outside that led to tremendous employment opportunities after he was released.
There's nothing you can't do. There's nothing you can't do. Do not allow these walls to confine and restrict your mind or your spirit, because God has blessed you with that. Use it.
Sean's story is equally impressive. His turning point came working in the prison law library, where he began reading every law book he could get his hands on. He would sit and read in his cell for hours.
I've had so many people that I served time with now contact me and say, you know what? All those days I was out watching TV and playing spades with the guys, and you were in your cell, and we all thought you were crazy because you were reading law books all day. Wow, that paid off.
It paid off because Sean is now a law professor at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., an attorney, a motivational speaker, and a prison consultant. He's been featured on 60 Minutes in the New York Times, and he recently signed a deal with Sony to tell his story to the world.
What I have found is that the time I invested in prison, rehabilitating myself and making life changes and educating myself, people saw that when I got out.
Michael and Sean are partners in a company called Prison Professors. Their goal is to help incarcerated men and women realize that despite significant challenges, they can live successful lives.
You see, you can become anything you want to become. Anything. There is no limit to what you can do, only what's in your mind.
Their message of hope and hard work left its mark on these men and women.
It's always intimidated me to go after my dreams, and I always limited myself because I thought, well, I'm a felon, I'm never going to be able to amount to what I should have. And now that I've heard them, I'm like, the sky's the limit.
I think that just them coming in means a lot. It shows that a prisoner, someone getting out of prison, can change their life. and it's an inspiration to everybody in here.
We are already statistically challenged due to the fact that people think since we're incarcerated that we're limited to possibilities, and now I'm hopeful and thinking that maybe I can go out and be a lawyer, because that was my dream, and that was my initial dream, and so now I feel like it's possible.
So I'm telling you, the power of making change in here and getting out, it's changed my life. It really has, and I would encourage all of you to take advantage of whatever you've got inside prison.
But what carried me through the day was that I always had hope. I always had a belief that if I apply myself while I am in here, I can write a new chapter of my life, just like everybody in here can do.
In addition to helping incarcerated men and women, Sean and Michael also want to improve the criminal justice system so that society focuses more on rehabilitation and less on punishment.
What's the best possible outcome that we can get out of our prison system, out of our staff, and what are our programs in place today that are going to help us realize the objectives that we're after.
Check back here in a couple of weeks for part 2 of Michael and Sean's story. They talk about what they observed during their tours of these 3 MTC facilities.
You guys are learning about 401ks in here? Is that right? Is that what I heard him say?
And for a more in-depth look into their visit, click on the link at the end of this story.